Xbox currently finds itself in a position that feels unusually fragile, but not necessarily in terms of infrastructure or technology, but in terms of their player perception. Over the past year, a pattern has emerged. There's been price hikes, there's been leadership restructuring, there's been a shifting strategy and growing community skepticism. And taken individually, none of these moves may seem that catastrophic, but if seen together, these changes suggest a company in a major transition. Just yesterday, Phil Spencer has announced that he is stepping down after nearly 40 years at Microsoft and more than a decade leading Xbox. While he will remain in an advisory capacity for the time being, this does mark a end of a rather defining chapter. And while Phil Spencer wasn't just an executive, he represented a philosophy at Microsoft under his leadership, and Xbox pivoted towards Game Pass. They embraced their pursuit in cross platform play and softened the exclusivity between platforms and positioned themselves as a player first alternative in the console space. So his retirement is not just a personnel change, rather, it is more of a symbolic shift. It's a leadership transition of this magnitude that rarely happens in the gaming industry, but it also doesn't happen without broader implications. With Spencer stepping back, Microsoft Gaming is undergoing a structural change, and the specifics of that change are quite revealing, actually. We have this article from The Verge that came out just yesterday when the news broke, and they go over a shift in the leadership from Phil Spencer and who might take the mantle of CEO in the foreseeable future. And this is the article that I talked about. It reads Microsoft Gaming CEO Asha Sharma's first memo on future of Xbox. Now, the first section reads as follows. Microsoft Gaming boss Phil Spencer has just announced that he's leaving the company after 12 years leading Xbox and nearly 40 at Microsoft in total. His replacement, Asha Sharma, formerly head of development for Microsoft AI enterprise teams. Now, this is just the first part of it, and I wanted to take a look at her profile picture that The Verge has linked on it. And if we just open it up a bit, it's stated here that Asha Sharma, previously president at Microsoft Core AI product division, has been appointed CEO of Microsoft Gaming, overseeing Xbox, Game Pass, and broader gaming strategy. And that background to me doesn't seem very incidental. And according to Microsoft's own description, Asha Sharma is president leading product development for Microsoft's Core AI product. In this role, she oversees the teams and technologies that power AI across Microsoft and its enterprise customers, spanning critical infrastructure, foundation models, and end-to-end tool change for building, managing, and deploying AI and agentic applications. And now, in practical terms, her core expertise lies in the AI infrastructure. There is these large-scale systems architecture, there's enterprise platforms, and there's the operationalization of advanced machine learning technologies. And this is a rather meaningful and very impactful shift that we could possibly see in Microsoft and more specifically in Xbox's strategy moving forward. And for the first time in Xbox's modern era, the head of Microsoft Gaming comes directly from this AI division, not from any traditional gaming publishing or studio leadership background positions that we might be used to. And this suggests that AI will not be just a peripheral technology to Xbox's future strategy, but a rather structurally embedded and core foundational aspect of them moving forward. Now, at an organizational level, this could influence how Xbox is being built. And if we just hop back into the picture that I have opened here, her portfolio reads that it includes Azure AI Foundry, Azure OpenAI Service, Azure Machine Learning, Responsible AI, AI Search, Customizable APIs, and Azure AI Services. So there is a very overarching topic in these, and that is they include the AI, artificial intelligence technology. Going back to this could very well impact how the greater integration between these Azure infrastructure and gaming services will look in the future. They could as well expand the use of AI-driven tooling in development pipelines. It could as well increase the automation in content workflows or in live service operations. And coming from a player facing level, it raises expectations of more visible AI integration in day to day gaming, whether through adaptive systems or generative tools or dynamic content scaling or even AI enhanced platform features. And the shift does not mean Xbox becomes an AI product necessarily, but it does signal that AI will likely become a core layer of its ecosystem architecture, and not just any background utility service that we might have been used to seeing. Looking at it more structurally, when the CEO's primary expertise is in AI infrastructure and system scalability, that inevitably shapes how priorities are set and how resources are allocated and how the platform evolves throughout the years. The implications are more long term, both for Xbox's internal structure and for how players experience the platforms in the coming years ahead. And now, prior to Microsoft, Asher Sharma has quite an extensive resume on her, where she has been involved in multiple projects in multiple different businesses, and we can take a look at that as well. And it reads as follows: that she has served as Chief Operating Officer of Instacart with full P&L responsibility, and P&L basically means a profit and loss responsibility, that she has been in charge of overseeing pretty much just income and costs, where she served at overseeing product design, data science, research, marketing, and a bunch of other kinds of initiatives and roles that she's taken on. She's been vice president of product at Meta. She oversaw Messenger, Instagram Direct Messenger Kits, remote presence calling, as well as video and company-wide platform services. So her background pretty much centers on platform operations. It centers on scalability as well as cross-functional system integration. With this change, she also issued a memo that The Verge also covered in the article. And I do want to give just a short overview of what's been said in this quite extensive memo. But if you want to read it in full, it is of course on The Verge website, and I will have the link in the description of this video if you want to go have a look at it yourself. So if we just switch over, we have this full memo here, and it's quite an extensive one, so I'll just quickly go over it. And she says in her first memo as CEO, Asha Sharma emphasizes both humility as well as urgency. She acknowledges the strong foundation that Xbox has built over the years, and she also stresses that the gaming industry is changing rapidly and that it does require a clear direction. She outlines as well 3 priorities that she wants to undertake, and that is first delivering great high quality games as well as empowering studios. She wants a renewed commitment to the Xbox brand, especially from the console platforms, while she wants to ensure that the platforms work seamlessly across both PC, mobile, and cloud. And as a third point that she wants to make, she wants to shape the future of playing through new business models and technologies, and that includes the AI technology, as well as without compromising the idea of games as human crafted art in particular. So overall, this memo signals both continuity with a much sharper focus, especially on the strategic aspect. It prioritizes quality and brand identity as well as the long-term sustainability of Xbox. Now, under Phil Spencer, Xbox leadership was closely associated with gaming culture. There was the community positioning and the expansion of Xbox Game Pass as a consumer first value proposition. And under Sharma, the profile signals indicate a shift towards more system thinking and long-term scalability and operational discipline within a broader enterprise framework. Now, I do quickly want to mention that while Phil Spencer is leaving his role as CEO, there's also been some other kinds of shifts, as well as the Xbox president Sarah Bond is leaving, and particularly Sarah Bond had become one of the most visible executives within Xbox recent growth phase, and she's closely tied to hardware messaging. There's the partnership strategy as well as cloud expansion. She's been undertaking the accessibility initiatives and overall the Game Pass positioning, so her departure along with Phil Spencer's transition reinforces that this is not just any minor adjustment, but a more structural reorganization at the top level. And with this restructuring, Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Game Studios, has been promoted to Chief Content Officer. And this move in particular suggests a continuity in one critical area, and that is first-party output. While executive leadership shifts towards broader structural alignment, content remains strategically central to the platform's value. And with this shift that we see from Matt Booty, we can expect a rather major restructuring of Xbox, and I'm particularly excited to see how this turns out. I am hopeful that we won't see AI overtake the development and take away the development from human developers. So I'm hopeful for the future of Xbox. And with this restructuring, I looked into some of the more recent moments that Xbox has had through this last year. One of the most visible friction point recently that comes to mind is of course the Game Pass price increase. And on paper, price adjustments are understandable. Game Pass is expensive to operate, and it encompasses first-party acquisitions, cloud infrastructure, as well as day one launches and global distribution to the players. But from a more financial standpoint, protecting margins while continuing to deliver value does make sense. And of course, Microsoft operates under clear expectations of profitability and capital efficiency, especially within its broader enterprise focused strategy, but the perception does not operate on spreadsheets. And what I mean by that is Game Pass has become more than just a subscription. It symbolizes Xbox's value proposition, and raising prices, especially without what feels like a proportionately added value to it, will inevitably trigger backlash. And for many players, the price increase wasn't just about money, it was more about the trust and expectations that Xbox really didn't seem to fully grasp while they announced this price increase. In particular, in subscription ecosystems, trust compounds very slowly, but on the other end, it can erode and fade and disappear really quickly. And now, as mentioned before, Xbox has pursued this ecosystem first approach. They have the console, PC, they have the cloud infrastructure, they have the mobile space, as well as the cross-platform integration. And the goal is very clear. They want to reduce the hardware dependency and build platform stickiness across devices. They want to position themselves as a company that strategically looks forward. They want to align with Microsoft's ongoing emphasis on services as well as subscriptions. However, this approach also dilutes traditional brand anchors, and when exclusivity softens and hardware becomes less central, the consumers begin to question what really defines the brand. And if Xbox is everywhere, what really sets them apart from Sony or PC for that matter? This is not necessarily a flawed strategy, but it does require a meticulous execution, and without any clear messaging or consistent delivery, expansion risks being perceived as diffusion rather than growth, essentially. And now it is essential to acknowledge that Xbox is not a struggling company. It is part of a trillion-dollar enterprise, and these changes are not signs of any imminent collapse for them, but they do signal a strategic recalibration of the business. And Xbox appears to be moving from a growth first narrative to one that must balance growth with profitability. And that shift changes internal incentives as well as the external perceptions of the company. And with growth first narratives, they can more easily tolerate short-term losses for a potential long-term loyalty structure, and more margin-focused narratives will demand quicker alignment between investment and return. I think this is very evident in Microsoft's recent actions. And so Xbox is not in any technological decline, nor is it facing immediate financial danger of any kind. However, the brand is moving through a sensitive period where perception and pricing adjustments, as well as leadership changes, all happen to converge all at once. A company that once defined itself as player first alternatives now seem to face and must now demonstrate that growth and profitability can coexist with a clear and recognizable identity as well. So the challenge comes down to not only just survival, but rather credibility, and whether this moment becomes the foundation of a more sustainable future or gradually erodes the goodwill that they have spent decades building at this point will ultimately come down to consistency, not in any headlines or ambitious promises, but more in the steady execution and transparent engagement and just the ability to maintain the trust of its community over time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was quite an extensive one talking about all the major things that are happening at Xbox and in larger in Microsoft. And I do wanted to bring in all these aspects because I do think it is very important to evaluate this based on previous price hikes and restructuring and overall the possibly new focus that Xbox will have. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, as I am hoping to create more of these kinds of videos as well. That's going to do it for me. Take care, everyone.